Hey, we're back. How are
Hi,
you?
friends. Hey, sister.
Hi. You are visiting a lot of museums.
I am in my last few days in New York on a family trip, staying in a friend's apartment, which has been fun and fatiguing. Lots of walking and lots of time in museums. So,
Jen, you were
uh,
telling me this museum summary the other day, and you
mhm.
were um I can't even remember which museum it was, but I was touched by how you were describing just the excitement that your boys had um and refresh me where you were and kind of give me the quick rundown again of what their high interests were. I know it
Well,
was.
we were at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and Victor loves to read Rick Riordan books, which have a lot of connection to Egypt and mythology, and
Yeah.
so he loves ancient Egypt, and he had done a report at school about ancient Egypt, so he has some background knowledge there, and he loved building on that, but also being a bit of an expert as he was walking us through the halls. Also, arms and armor. These are not places where I would typically hang out
The
in
arms and armor
arms
section
and
was one of
armor.
the sections you visited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So lots
this
of time.
idea of you said, he was feeling like a bit of an expert, and kids love to develop expertise.
They do. They
And you're
do.
describing how he had this background knowledge
Mhm.
that he had developed that actually set him up to want to know more, to sort of keep adding to that.
Yes. So he was deepening and confirming some things, but he was also acquiring new information, which is how background knowledge develops, right?
Yeah.
So it was lovely to see in action, although I might have been inclined to hang out a little bit more in some of the paintings. Were it just my trip into the Met, but it was fun to see them get so excited about horses in mail.
The other thing, when you were telling me, you used this word,
Sarcophagus.
sarcophagus, and you said to me, "Oh, seeing the sarcophaguses."
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's sarcophaguses or sarcophagi. It's SAR with an AR. Um,
When you said it to me, I thought, I can't quite think what that word means, even though it seems kind of familiar to me. And I had that moment of like, oh, it's somehow in my phonological lexicon, but
Absolutely.
I don't really have meanings attached to it yet. But I'm sort of primed and interested. And that word, I kind of watched it float around in my head a little bit that day.
Uh-huh.
And I was interested to get some meaning and background knowledge attached to it, for myself. And so
Yeah.
can you help me with that? What
Well,
did
to
that word
build your
mean?
lexical quality, right? So, a sarcophagus is that stone tomb. And I have to say, we need one of the boys in here to explain better what a sarcophagus is. Um, but it's that stone burial um, box, basically, where people were buried.
Wow.
And they're enormous and take up. There's one that's in just its own room at the Met. So, but
So
learning more about it is building your lexical quality, right? Because we want to know how to pronounce it, how
how
to
to
spell
spell it?
it, what it
Yeah.
means, and what the definition of the word is, and how to
Yeah.
use it in context. And
And the more I
so,
hear you use it, the more that gets
right,
deepened for me. And if I were looking at it in print a few times, that would really help me
lock
to
it
lock
in.
all of those
Yes.
language systems together.
Sarcophagus,
Oh
four
boy.
syllables.
So, we've been thinking a lot about background knowledge,
Mhm.
and how we can't shy away from just really teaching content, teaching kids about stuff in our
Yes,
elementary classrooms. And kids are thirsty to learn about stuff.
absolutely. They
And
get so excited.
Yeah. And so more than just strategies about how to make sense of what they're reading, kids need to actually learn content, and we can do that through conversation, but also through rich read aloud. Again, read aloud pops up for me
Text
as a
sets,
strategy.
field trips,
Yeah.
content area instruction, your science and social studies instruction. So
Yeah.
typically what we've done historically, and I know as a literacy leader, I made this move, to guide a school to do less science and social studies instruction in order to have more time for comprehension strategy instruction. And that is, friends, that was backward thinking, quite honestly, because you create
Certainly
this
been there
chicken and
too.
an egg problem, because the lack of content area knowledge contributes to less comprehension, which makes us feel like, oh, we need to teach more strategies, which makes it all compounded. So
there's a baseball study.
mhm.
And I think let's share a little about the baseball study, because I think it just really, it speaks to the importance of get a lot of informational text in the room, create lots of opportunities to learn about the world.
Mhm. So Recht and Leslie were the researchers, and what they found was that they tested two groups of children using passages about baseball. And one group was proficient readers who didn't know much about baseball. And the other was children who were not as proficient readers, but who knew a lot about baseball.
A lot about baseball.
Knew a lot about baseball. And the children who didn't read as well, but knew a lot about baseball, outperformed the children who were superstar
readers.
So that content area knowledge is so critical and empowering and essential, really, for comprehension.
Yeah.
Strategies are not enough.
Yeah.
Strategies are not enough.
So let's really all commit to this idea of finding lots of opportunity to help kids learn about stuff.
Yes.
Not
experts.
Just, yeah. Okay.
And we talk more about this, of course, in chapter 1 of our book, Shifting the Balance. And if you want to deep dive into it, you can take our online course. There's information about both of these at the6shifts.com. Do you have your little handy reference there, Kari?
Oh, this fancy thing I made
fancy
in our
high-tech thing that you made? The6shifts.com. Yes.
Can people even read my handwriting? But it's the6shifts.com.
We're going to get you some help.
You could get me some help. I think we did another video that was about dialogic conversation. This one is about background knowledge, but they all are about helping to build what kids bring to the reading experience, so that ultimately these are ways to support our ultimate goal of reading comprehension.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
And that's what it's all about, right? We want kids to read for meaning and joy, and to enhance their lives in lots of wonderful ways.
Yes. But I should go, sister, because I have to go.
You have to go to more museums. And we promised we're going to keep these videos short. So
we did.
Goodbye, friends.
Bye. Thank you.